once a month we have a community member who shares how living unity principles has made their life fuller and more and joyful. And I'd like to invite up Sandra Crowell she's going to share.
Good morning, dear Unity friends. I'm just really honored to get to talk to you today. It's great to be up here. It's great to see all the people who've been such a part of my life, throughout my life, and how unity principles and powers have impacted me. And really what I'm talking about today is how those have become a part of my DNA. To start with, I'd like to tell you a story about my mother, who embodied strength, one of those banners that we often had hanging in the other church, because Mother saw things in a whole different way. When she was older and the family had moved to town, she woke up one morning, she was alone. My brother had died, my sister and I were living far away, Dad was ill, and she was really down. And then she looked outside, and there was this most beautiful pear tree in bloom. And for me, that has become a metaphysical symbol of unity and what really divine spirit is all about. So to give you a little background, for those of you who don't know me, my preoccupation is writing Northwest history. So I'm going to give you a little of my own history today. I grew up on a ranch way high in the Colorado Rockies. It was quite remote and very, very beautiful, but pretty much alone. I spent my time clambering over rocks in the Rockies. And my mother, seeing the divine spirit in all, was always thrilled to death over the first anemones coming up through the snow, over the song of the meadowlark, over the gold of those glorious Colorado aspens on a crisp fall day. And so Mother saw that divine in just about everything. But Christmas, oh my, what joy and what zeal. She baked dozens and dozens of the most wonderful Christmas cookies on her wood stove and gave them to everyone. Mother was an eternal optimist, and I have to tell you, I found that so annoying when I was a teenager. But her wisdom and will propelled me through college and through graduate school. Her love was the foundation for raising my own 2 kids. And today, I'm just astonished to know that grandkids on the East Coast, grandkids on the West Coast, really understand her commitment to order and to goals. Now, I moved to Olympia in 1986, and that's when I really discovered that everything Mom had talked about was actually embodied in a church. It was a miracle to me. Well, because the other thing is that growing up out in the country like that, we had an itinerant minister who would come around once a month to the 2-room schoolhouse where I went through the ninth grade. But he was an evangelist, and he talked a lot about how our black souls really needed to be saved, or probably we would burn in hell. And I remember my mother just going, I think she was inwardly cringing, because I knew very early on that was not how we believed. So when I moved to Olympia and discovered this part of the church, I actually went on to work, spend a lot of my career, even though I've almost always had an Olympia address, in Lewis County, and I became really involved in the Unity Center of Spiritual Living in Centralia. But I called it the Unity Center of Potlucks because that was, that was really what we had a lot of. Well, my second husband and I were on a cruise in Europe when he died very unexpectedly in Germany. And my Unity family really came through. And I have to say, dear man, you would have loved that potluck. So that was about faith and the power of prayer. So several years ago, actually about over 6 years ago, I rehomed here closer in Olympia and rejoined Unity of Olympia. And that's when Reverend Terry recommended spirit groups. And those became my anchor and so much expression of faith as I was going through a grief process. And that's where I've met my dear friends, David and Lisa, and the two Terrys, and Steve and Deb, and it was such a comforting time for me. Then during the pandemic, I learned something else. I learned that Unity is a vaccine against negative thinking. So today, I'm really honored to be able to serve on the board of Interfaith Works. And that's thanks to the wonderful mentorship of Ann Chanel. And I've learned that what we do here, what you do in your meals, in your financial support, I see that from a whole different perspective and how very, very valuable that is to our most vulnerable community members. So I'd like to conclude by saying, I heard Reverend Terry say, practical Christianity. It's about walking the talk. It's about every day having that inner commitment to the divine order. And my mother's pear tree, well, that is a symbol of life itself. And when I think of that, I know God is, and all is well. Namaste.